Going on, Uncle Pete? How you been? Got the Evil Dead running in the background. I just love like how iconic that one of the opening portions is of like their car just like slowly driving up to the front of that cabin. Just so great. Actually, mess with my. There we go. Doing all right. Had a pretty good day today. Video games. Watched a movie this morning. Relaxed. It's pretty good. Can't ask for a whole lot else, really. Step away real quick. I'll be right back. Started notes with opening shot and score. Nice, nice. I'll be right back. Man, that smoke when they first walk into the cabin with like the deer head, like the shot of the side of the deer head and then like the smoke billowing. So cool. That just looks so good. And that cabin is just like perfectly gross and creepy and simplistic. That's another great thing about it is how simplistic it is. Just so many things about the film, just so nice. So good. Digging on it. Oh yeah. I agree with that, Uncle Pete. Like, yeah, every shot definitely had a purpose. It was very, very intentional. One of the crazy things about that to consider is like how good the writing and directing is. And Sam Raimi was like 20 years old when he did it. And I think about like when I was 20 years old, could I pull something like this off? Would I even dream of having been able to pull something like that off? Nah, not at all. It is the original Cabin in the Woods, definitely. Yeah, and I loved in the movie The Cabin in the Woods when you understand that like that is basically the reference for the film and how they used a cabin that looked so much like the one in The Evil Dead when they revealed it. So great. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Definitely. There you are. What's up, John? I was gonna say, I'm like, if John doesn't show up for this one, I'm gonna be a little bit mad because we did the Suckling just for John. So welcome. And I'm glad I finally gave in on that and said let's do the Suckling because it's an experience, man. It is really an experience. All right, get your dinner, Uncle Pete. Hey Heather, what's up? What's up? So yeah, you guys talked me into doing Letterboxed. I know Heather, you've probably seen that I'm doing Letterboxed now, so I'm on there. If you want to look it up, it's just Carlin Cook. My whole name just run together. So, and I have been doing a solid job of logging the movies that I've been watching, including last night, Bill and Ted Face the Music, which wasn't bad. Had good aspects of it, bad aspects of it. It was kind of a mess for a lot of the film, but I actually liked how they kind of brought stuff together at the end. And there's good stuff in it, but overall, it's not that great. It's okay. Oh, all right. Let's hear it, John. Disagreements on that? That I'm always down to hear that stuff. I love to hear other people's perspectives on film. Might make me think a little differently about it. I don't know, but we can find out. Marshall. Marshall said I had to work today, so I'm secretly texting right now. Quick thoughts: Evil Dead is a cult classic, and the low budget add to the movie. Yeah, Honestly, Marshall, I would argue too that I like the grainy feel and the practical effects were awesome. Totally. I think in general, low budget independent filmmaking makes films better because people have to be better. They have to be more creative. They have to come up with more interesting, creative ways to solve whatever problems they have on set or to get the desired look or effect that they're looking for, as opposed to just having like a gigantic budget where they're just like, oh, well, we've got money to throw at it. We'll just, hire this person to do this or that team to do that. And it just, it takes a lot of the creativity and a lot of the problem solving out of it, which sucks. So that's why I think I like independent and low budget better, typically. Do you know who those two men were standing on the side of the road in the beginning of the film? I don't, but would one of them be Ted Raimi? Or one of them be Sam Raimi? I don't know. That's a good question, though, John. I would like to know the answer to that. Right now, what's up? I guess for me with Evil Dead, you have to think about the time in which it came out, and the effects were amazing for that time. Agreed. Totally agree. I know they used oatmeal for some of the guts. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, getting creative. Like, doing the best you can. Using the best critical and creative thinking skills that you can because you don't have the budget to do anything else. Like, and that's what I'm talking about. So, like, using oatmeal and it worked. It worked really well. Like, that's crazy to think. But it's awesome. Rob Tappert and Sam Raimi. I knew it would probably be a Raimi involved in there. That's cool, though. Which, by the way, I mean, I know, John, you'll remember this from my review, but I do think that moment when, like, Scott driving the car is yelling at those two guys in the woods, I think that kind of sets up the subtext of city people versus rural people. Not specifically, like, person versus person, but specifically, like, people who live in a city are more at odds with actual nature than people who live in a rural setting are. Because people who are living amongst nature kind of have a symbiotic relationship to some degree, and people who are not living in nature, who are actually living in like a suburb or in a city, actually have a very adversarial relationship with nature for the most part. So I think that's kind of some subtext that's going on with Evil Dead. But maybe that's one of the things you disagree with me about. We'll see. Feel free to comment on that. And actually, one of the things I actually did when I did my master's degree, my thesis was about the Akira Kurosawa film Dersu Uzala, which was a joint venture between Japan and Russia and shot in Far East Russia. But it was basically a film about the contentious relationship between people from cities and nature versus people who live amongst nature and what that relationship's about. So my whole thesis was basically analyzing that film and kind of drawing from it the differences between people who still live amongst nature or still did at that point versus people who are more used to a city living or a suburban living environment, and the positive and negative effects that those two modes of living have. So just so you know, so that might be part of the reason I see that in Evil Dead, is just because my mind's kind of geared that way. I don't see how you've come to that conclusion. Those two guys were just hitchhikers. But didn't they have, like, fishing gear on and everything? It looked like they had fishing gear on. Well, actually, I mean, I have the movie on. I can back it up. I'm going to do that real quick. Maybe it looked different to me. It's going to take me a while to get back there, but this warrants me taking a look. Alright, where's the part where they drive by these dudes? Welcome back, Uncle Pete. And it's possible that I just saw those guys and assumed that they were... Well, why would... I mean, were they actually hitchhikers? I'm going to watch. Maybe it just looked to me like they weren't hitchhikers. here comes the truck. Okay, so that's not the part. Need to go past that. Okay, they just had the scare. I thought they were fishermen. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I'm saying. Like, I thought they were, like, actually fishermen. But I'm about to confirm this. Oh, they're bickering in the car. 3-minute mark. Oh, there they are. Yeah, they're fishermen. They're totally fishermen, and they were just waving to them. Yeah, they're not hitch. It didn't look like they were hitchhiking. I'll take it back. Watch it one more time, uninterrupted. This is where they're arguing about the steering wheel being grabbed. No, they're just waving. Those guys aren't trying to hitchhike or anything. They're just fishermen. You're wrong, John. So I hold to my theory. Yeah. But, like I was saying, like maybe I'm just seeing that subtext in it because of, what my thesis had been. So it's something I'm predisposed to looking for in a way. So, but I mean, the whole thing has this adversarial human versus nature aspect because the tree rape scene being a big one, but also the fact that some of the characters make comments about it's the woods, like them saying that the woods are the evil aspect that's out there. They're not even saying that like there's an evil entity a bunch of the time. They're saying that the woods are evil. Yes, they were fishermen, but that alone doesn't support claim of the conflict. What I'm saying is that I just think that that's a, what's the best word? Kind of like a little bit of a metaphor for what's to come in the film, of like kind of Scott's nature and their nature overall, and not really respecting where they're going. They're very disconnected from nature, and there's some city folk going into nature and spending a bunch of time there, and who knows what they're going to find, what they're going to get into. But yeah, I think. Oh wait, what? The second part of your art was the ripped poster in the basement. The hills have eyes. That wasn't like a. I don't know if it sounded like I was tying that into the people versus nature thing. I think when I did bring that up, I said I don't know. I was kind of like because the hills have eyes actually had a bit of well, I mean, it was the same thing basically, where it's these city folk coming into a more rural or remote area and having to survive. So in that basic way, The Evil Dead and Hills Have Eyes have that similarity. But the thing that I found most interesting about the Hills Have Eyes poster being there is just that a Hills Have Eyes poster was there, which I think is cool. I always think that's awesome when filmmakers will put these little like kind of visual cues of I respect this person, so obviously that's like a I love this film, or I love Wes Craven, or I love both. So I like that. I know the poster is an homage to West and in Nightmare. Nancy is watching The Evil Dead, so Raimi put the Freddy glove in Evil Dead 2. Oh, it's been a while since I've watched Evil Dead 2, although I'm going to, so that's interesting. It's interesting to know. Because I don't even remember the Freddy glove in Evil Dead 2, so. If it was a movie about city folks and they ran into the normal country problems, then you would be correct. What do you mean by normal country problems? Are you talking like Deliverance? Yeah, just expand upon that, because I'm interested to know what you think it would be normal for that. But this is a perfect time while this is going on to point out the disclaimer that everyone views films differently, and the fact that I see that in the film doesn't mean that that was an intention of it, and it doesn't mean that it wasn't an intention of it. It's just that with a lot of film, it's up to interpretation, individual interpretation. So when anyone watches it, they see it from their point of view, or they come up with ideas that they're predisposed to thinking about versus what maybe the filmmaker had in mind. And I know there are some filmmakers out there who kind of like to say, no, this is specifically what I had in mind. This is exactly what I was going for, and this was the subtext, this was the theme. But then there are other directors and scriptwriters who prefer to just leave it up to people. And I think part of the reason for that is because it ends up meaning more on a personal level to the people who watch it, and they kind of don't want to, like, mess with that. Like, I know John Carpenter's kind of a big one with, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people with his films, which I respect. I think that's cool. So, but I also don't like that because I also want to know what their intent was. It's in the shed when he gets the chainsaw. It's against the wall at the door. Okay, I'll look for it Uncle Pete, when I watch Evil Dead 2, which after watching The Evil Dead, it just made me want to continue with this. So I'm going to go through and do reviews for Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and the entire Ash vs. Evil Dead series. Although I'm not sure if with the Ash vs. Evil Dead series I should just do it as an overall series review or if I should do it by season. I was thinking overall series might just make it easy because it's done. It's not continuing. Mr. Tightwhite, what's up? What's up? I'm shuffling eBay negotiations and my own YouTube video, but definitely want to weigh in on these flicks. Multitasking going down. Okay, no problem, Mr. Tightwhite. Appreciate you popping in. I think it's cool that Raimi and West traded the respect back and forth. That's right, and that's a really cool point, Uncle Pete. Is that there was kind of like that mutual thing going on. You don't see that a lot in film, and so yeah, that is really cool to see. I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a good point. Hills Have Eyes poster, Raimi's View. Wes Craven put a ripped Jaws poster in the movie The Hills Have Eyes as a way of showing his movie was the new standard of horror. Really? I didn't know that, John. That's interesting. It's also been a bit since I've seen the original Hills Have Eyes, which I was thinking about watching it a few months ago, but I need to go back. So many movies, I just need to go back. So Raimi, as a joke, put a ripped poster of The Hills Have Eyes as a joke, saying The Evil Dead, now the real horror, then in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Was he really that cocky at the age of 20, though? Wes Craven had someone watching a film of The Evil Dead to show that Nightmare was the new standard of horror. Interesting. Is that confirmed from them that it was like a kind of rivalry thing, trying to say like this is the new best thing, or was it more of like a just like nod to like, hey, this is cool? Because I like to think that people don't make films and be like, mine's the new best, but maybe that does happen. Mr. Tightwhite, I always felt Evil Dead 1 and 2 were very similar, but of course 2 stepped up the cheese big time. Do you guys favor 2 or 1? So, Mr. Tightwhite, it's been a while for me with actually both of these films. 2 nights ago is when I watched The Evil Dead for like the first time in 20 years. So, it had been a while, and Evil Dead 2, it's been less than 20 years, but it's been a lot of years. So, I need to revisit that, but from what I remember from my first viewings of the 2 films, that I liked the second one a lot more because it was more over the top. It was more a horror comedy. The gore was more copious, and it was funnier and looked better. So, based off my recollection, I would say Evil Dead 2 I prefer more, but after going back to the original Evil Dead, I mean, I kind of like fell a bit in love with this film, way more so than when I saw it for the first time. I kind of want to like buy it now. I don't own it. I own the other stuff though. Why didn't they call Army of Darkness Medieval Dead? That's awesome. I love that. They should have done that. They totally should have done that. And who knows, maybe someone threw that idea out at some point when they were making the film or even writing the script. But that's genius. I like the Evil Dead and then skip the first part of Evil Dead 2. Why do you skip the first part of Evil Dead 2? Because I don't even remember what the first part of it is, since I have to rewatch it. Oh, and you watch... Okay, okay. So you make it all... 1 and 2, you turn it into one movie by skipping the beginning so that it just kind of runs together as one giant story. Okay, that's cool. It's a good idea. It's a great way to do that. Raimi was being interviewed and he stated that was only his opinion. Okay, got it. Thank you, John. Got it. Mr. Tightwhite, I feel Army of Darkness is overrated. It's been a while since I watched that one too, so you might be right. I don't know. Evil Dead 2 was a perfect blend of comedy and horror. Army of Darkness was all comedy and no scares. That bothered me. Yeah, it definitely, from my recollection, is like the comedy factor increases by a lot over each of those films. And then, well, then what's your thought, Mr. Tightwhite? What's your thought then on the Ash vs. Evil Dead series, if you've seen it? Do you feel like that took it even further, or is that in line with Army of Darkness, or is that in line more with Evil Dead 2? Yeah, Uncle Pete, the recap they did. Oh, hey, Paul. What's up, Paul Phoenix? What is up, man? Welcome. So just something that I want to say in general about The Evil Dead is that the camera work is so unique and interesting, especially for that time. It's so engaging. And when you first see it, it feels a little weird the way it is, because there's a lot of kind of like low shots and a lot of like off-kilter shots that are interesting. And then obviously the kind of like tracking shots through the woods of, the POV shots from the evil in the woods. Really cool. But there's not like... Another big thing about this film is there's not a ton of story to it, really. It's very light on story, but it really ends up not mattering because it looks really good. It plays very well. And I like the fact that the Deadites are kind of like actual characters. It's not kind of like the majority of these types of films where it's kind of like this evil that's trying to take over people's bodies that's more just kind of one mode and one note. There's personality to the Deadites, and they don't just want to kill, they want to mess with people. There's like a fun aspect to it where they like to taunt. Obviously, they talk a lot and sing and chant and do weird things. But it adds so much to the film. Okay, Mr. Tyway, you have not seen Ash vs. Evil Dead? I mean, if you like the movies, I would definitely recommend watching Ash vs. Evil Dead. I watched first and second season completely, and then I didn't finish the third season because I got sidetracked. So I don't know if I quite made halfway through the third season, but I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna rewatch through all of it. But I would recommend it. If anyone wondered why Ash was so cocky, it's self-absorbed in his later Evil Dead movies, just understand the stress and hell he went through in the previous films. I agree with that, John. And I think they did an excellent job in The Evil Dead of moving his kind of like level of stress and madness up slightly, like little bit by little bit, so that by the end of the movie, like you can see why he acts the way he does in Evil Dead 2. Like he's like basically at a point of being unhinged by the end of The Evil Dead, I feel like. Tracking shots were so cool. I know. Uncle Pete, so good. Made the movie what it is today. A lot of people have copied the movie. And one of the best things about watching this, after we had watched Dead Alive for one of the previous live streams, is that Peter Jackson had cited The Evil Dead as one of his main inspirations for Dead Alive. And you can see a lot of similarity with the feel and camera work as well, and that kind of like slapsticky comedy aspect to it. So it's really, really cool to watch both of those movies and see those similarities. And that would be a really good double feature for anyone. The Evil Dead and Dead Alive. Be awesome. Um, by the way, cheers to everyone in the chat. This beer's for you. Mr. Tightwhite, if you are drinking a beer, what beer? I'm big into craft beer. I'm interested. Did you watch Evil Dead with headphones? I didn't. John, I did not. I just had it on the TV. I can imagine that with with headphones for movies in general usually makes the experience more immersive because the sounds are so, like, it feels like you're closed in and it blocks a lot of the other distractions out. So I just imagine every film is better that way. Oh, Paul, for sure. Yeah, Peter Jackson does need to make another horror movie, but he's been so successful at other stuff that I just don't see him going back. Although maybe, because Raimi got successful with other stuff and then he went back. He went back a few times. Yeah, the Frighteners. Frighteners is underrated, Paul. Frighteners definitely underrated. And Dusk Till Dawn were supposed to be Tales from the what? Wait, hold on. The Frighteners and Dusk Till Dawn were supposed to be Tales from the Crypt movies? That's interesting. I did not know that. That's weird. That's odd to think about. Only drank one beer from the past 2 years. One beer for the past 2 years? Meaning that's just the beer you continually like to drink as like your go-to. Voodoo Ranger IPA by New Belgium, I assume, Mr. Tightwhite. In which case I would have to ask, are you in Colorado? Wow, that's crazy though. Nice. Colorado has a lot of good breweries. A lot of good breweries. Including, I think Fate Brewing is there, if I remember. Oh, you're in Houston, though. Houston, eh? I have an uncle who lives down in Houston. And then another uncle who lives not that far from Houston. Anyone play the Evil Dead HD mobile game? Paul, are you... Which one is that? Is that like the... Oh, no, I haven't played Evil Dead. I've played the Army of Darkness Tower Defense mobile game some years ago. That was a lot of fun, actually. That's a good time. You have it on iPad. So how does that game work? Give us a little synopsis, Paul. The swinging porch chair made a deep thumping sound as it hit the side of the cabin. I did pick up on that, John. I wrote that. I put that down in my notes when I was watching it because I feel like that was a really good setup for kind of like this anticipation of things going poorly. It was a great way for them to show up to the cabin. Basically, I loved it. Another Evil Dead video game on the way. Good, hopefully. With headphones, I'm sure I heard wolves howling at night. Huh. Interesting. I don't think I picked up on that. But speaking of sound in the film, I think that the sound that they make when they're doing like the POVs for the evil that's out there is very effective for two reasons. One, it just sounds really good, and it just sounds like this kind of like mixture of like a whooshing wind sound with also like this very low kind of guttural chanting type noise. And the way they mix that together, it just sounds really good and scary. And it's also good because it indicates to people that, oh, okay, this is POV of the evil. Like, you just know it because it's always that type of sound. With headphones, it was really deep bass sounding. Yeah, I could see that being really cool. You can hear more with headphones than without them. Yeah, I could see that for sure, John. Play a bobble-headed Ash, and you just blast everything's sight for points. Okay, that sounds fun. That could be fun. I could see that. Yeah, definitely. So, what else about Evil Dead? One of the crazy things to me about Evil Dead was that kind of like some of the backstory on how the film was made. The fact that the cast and crew were staying in that cabin and people weren't showering and it didn't have plumbing was just like, I can't imagine. Like, I can't imagine. I've done some independent film in my past, and I know how grueling stuff is. I know how sometimes it's hard to get along with people on sets. And that's just doing it for like a day or 2 days or something like that. Um, for how long they were working on that and they were also living together, I cannot imagine what that would have been like. And especially with those conditions. That's why I love these kind of behind the scenes bits of information about what was going on. Which, by the way, one of the best things I heard, I listened to the podcast Postmortem with Mick Garris. He just interviews a bunch of people from the horror industry. And he did one with Bruce Campbell, I think it was sometime last year. It's still available if you look for Postmortem. Really good interview with Bruce Campbell. He talks a lot about his experience with the shooting during the Evil Dead and other Evil Dead related movies. It's just really, really interesting. You should check it out. Everyone should. The sound design right when the basement door blew open was perfect for the mood Raimi was trying to set. I agree with that, Uncle Pete. And that also reminds me of something else that I loved about that basement door coming open. Well, later, when Cheryl, when the Deadite Cheryl is in the basement and she keeps trying to get out through that hatch, the scene where it's from her perspective looking through it as she's watching the characters have a discussion is so cool. And that's what it just goes to be a part of what I was talking about earlier with there's so many interesting camera shots that just keep you engaged with the film. And that's one of them. That's one of the big ones in my opinion. Anyone seen this new Korean zombie movie, Alive? I have not, Paul. I haven't even heard of it. Is it good? I would love to rent the Evil Dead house for a summer vacation. I'm packing an arsenal, though. yeah, Mr. Tightweight. I mean, you would have to in that situation. New Evil Dead has a title of Evil Dead Rise. It is supposed to be a new look at the Evil Dead, but no Ash. Yeah, John, isn't that one supposed to basically be a sequel to the remake that was from 2013? Is that what that's supposed to be? I think that's what I had heard. They had to dig a hole under the house for the basement. The actor would just crouch down. Oh, really? I didn't know that, Uncle Pete. That's crazy. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Evil Dead is not the Evil Dead without Ash. Yeah. I feel you on that. Although when the original Evil Dead came out, Bruce Campbell wasn't a big deal and people didn't really care that much. I think he became a big deal because of the movies after the first one. The basement was only a 6-foot hole they dug into the ground because they didn't have a big 6-foot hole. That was probably pretty uncomfortable to be in. Not a huge zombie guy myself. Takes a great one to pull me in. I agree with that. I'm the same way, Mr. Tightweight. Same way. Cabin no longer exists. It was destroyed by fire. By fire, really? How did the fire happen? I wonder. Haven't watched it yet, but I hear it's good. Hoping it's like Train to Busan. Train to Busan was good. I typically don't like zombie films because there's so freaking many. But if it feels a bit different in some way and it's well executed story-wise, I'm down. And Train to Busan was that. I thought it was good. Only the chimney remains. Oh, yeah, that's sad. I wish Train to Busan was good. I think Train to Busan was good. Oh, Train to Busan 2. I have not seen the second one. Shudder's going to be getting it, though, from what I hear. So I will watch it when it goes there, I'm sure. Paul, I agree. For the most part, zombie movies are boring. But I would say that The Evil Dead feels to me like the next evolution of the zombie film after Night of the Living Dead. As in evolution of the evil. Because I mean, and think about the parallels. Night of the Living Dead, they're in a house being besieged by zombies. In The Evil Dead, they're in a house being besieged by basically zombies, but it's a different type of zombie. It's kind of like an evolved zombie because where zombies in Night of the Living Dead, they don't talk, they move very slowly. The Deadites, these new zombies, they can use the bodies of the people in a very limber way, and they talk and they have personality, and it seems like they think. So I don't know. It just occurs to me as being kind of that evolution, the next evolution of zombie, a better zombie. Those are the zombies I want. They also had to shovel all of the cow dung from the floor of the cabin. Ugh. Yeah, gross. No one knows how the fire started. Yeah, because that's weird. Because, I mean, was there even really electricity going to it at that point? Is The Walking Dead still going? I tapped out after, like, season 3. Paul, I tapped out at the end of season 1. Because I just didn't really care that much. Blood scene in a basement pipes was from homage to Plumbing We Will Go. Three Stooges short. Oh, yeah. Yeah, John, I remember you talking about the Sam Raimi's tie to the Three Stooges. And when I was doing research before watching the movie, I found, a lot of people talking about how he loved the Three Stooges so much. So he sought to integrate that aspect into his films. Which, when you know that, you can definitely see that in the movie. And by the way, that blood pipe scene, cool scene. Quite enjoy that. Evil Dead 2 was like nothing before it and nothing after it. It feels very unique. The way it was shot and the pacing was top notch. I agree with that, Mr. Tightweight. I do. It is, yeah. It has been replicated in a way by the remake, but they changed a lot about it. So, I mean, it's the same story, but it's not the same. And it doesn't have the same feel. And, yeah, I don't know a whole lot of films that try and do the same thing. Although, like I was talking about Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's Dead Alive did seek to do something very similar. And it does feel similar, I would say. But that one also stands out as being this crazy, unique film that still, when you watch it now, feels very unique. Not a lot of people kind of revisited that style. Before Evil Dead, Raimi had a long history of creating short films from high school through college. Yeah, I had read about that, John. And apparently, he and Bruce Campbell had been friends during childhood, and that's kind of how he ended up in the movie. The Witch in the Basement was fucking awesome. The witch, Cheryl, yeah. Mm-hmm. Looked real good. Food coloring for the blood. Yeah, the blood is, what is it, corn syrup, Caro syrup with food coloring. I've used that before in film. Works really well. And when you have it, you just, like, want to throw as much of it as you can into the scene because it's just fun. Very fun to use. We didn't have Caro syrup or corn syrup at the time, and we did just use maple syrup and put a lot of red in it, and it worked. And then you just shot it like out of the maple syrup container. It was pretty funny. People should watch the Raimi Campbell pre-Evil Dead film, The Blind Waiter. Pure Three Stooges theme. Huh. Is it available on YouTube or anything, John? Because I would be interested in seeing that. Apparently, there was a much longer cut of The Evil Dead initially, and then they cut it down to be more digestible for audiences. And a lot of the stuff that they cut out of the film had to do with the kind of psychological and emotional effects of losing his friends for Ash, and him kind of like thinking about that and dealing with that as it's happening. So I would be interested to see what that cut looked like. I don't know if that's out there somewhere or not. I would feel like it is. Raimi's three rules of horror. 1. Innocent must suffer. 2. Must taste blood to be a man. 3. Guilty must be punished. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, you definitely see all that in The Evil Dead, for sure. You're right about that. Within the Woods, 1978. Yeah, that was the, wasn't Within the Woods their short film that they did to get financing for The Evil Dead? Oh, dude, the ankle scene, the pencil in the ankle scene is going on right now. Oh, yeah, it's such a good scene. Like, it still works really well. It still looks really good and, like, painful. Like, you watch that and, like, internally you're kind of cringing. You're like, oh, God. This is available on my YouTube. It's always, isn't that, like, always the answer, John? Available on your YouTube channel? Always the answer, pretty much. Thank you. That scene looks so painful. Yep. You know it, Paul. Sure does. Good stuff, though. Man, it's such an amazing film. Also, the tie between the Coen brothers and Sam Raimi was interesting when I was researching about it. For anyone who doesn't know, that after they shot everything for The Evil Dead, they took the footage to an editing company that Joel Coen worked at, and then he met Raimi, and then Raimi had, the two kind of became friends. They had talked, and Joel Coen liked the idea that Raimi had used with making a short film as a proof of concept to get financing. So Joel took that to his brother, and the Coen brothers then did a short film in order to get financing to make the film Blood Simple. Then, after Evil Dead, Raimi worked with the Coen brothers to do a film called Crime Wave, which apparently was terrible. I've not seen it. I now want to see it, hearing how bad it is. It flopped horribly, and it almost killed Raimi's career. And really, the only thing that saved his career is the fact that there was interest in doing another Evil Dead film. So Evil Dead 2 is what rose him from the ashes of Crime Wave, basically. I heard you say the ankle scene, and I tensed up my ankle. I don't blame you, Uncle Pete. That scene does that to you. Yes, Within the Woods was advertisement for their Evil Dead film. Yes. Advertisement, otherwise known as, watch this and believe in me, please give me this money. I always had to look away when that scene came. Yeah, Paul. I could see that. Raimi also did a 7-minute short, Clockwork, where the killer was Groucho Marx. Interesting. Wow. I really want to watch his short films now. Blood Simple and No Country, similar. I've not seen Blood Simple. I've seen No Country for Old Men. I enjoyed that. I haven't seen Blood Simple yet. I do plan to watch it, though. It's on HBO Max, I believe, at the moment. The script for Evil Dead is available on the internet. Really? Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that. This is off topic, but have y'all heard Carpenter is involved in a movie based or connected to the Thing world? I have. I think it's working with Blumhouse too, which if Marshall was in the chat, he'd be like, yeah, Blumhouse. No, he loves the Blumhouse. I try not to get too excited about things like that. I really hope it's good because The Thing is an amazing film. I still love that film so much. But at the same time, like, I don't like to get my hopes up for stuff like that because you just never know. It could be totally terrible. The fact that Carpenter's involved makes me feel better and a little bit more hopeful, but that doesn't guarantee anything either. Oh, yes, this story. John, tell us this story about pissing off Bruce in a war zone. I definitely want to hear this. You would tease that in a comment, and I forgot to bring this up, so thank you for bringing that up. Oh, yes. I like the shot that's coming up where they take the camera and just, like, ram it through the window. Like it literally like breaks through the window. I love it. And did they replace that window? Like what did they do? That place is just like so crappy and run down. I can't believe they were staying there while they were making the film. That would have been awful. Just awful. And even though there's a lot of harsh-ish shadows in it, the lighting still looks pretty good. John Carpenter has confirmed his attachment to the proposed reboot of horror classic The Thing, as well as a new Lost themes arriving early next year. Well, I mean, I'm glad to see Carpenter revisiting horror, so hopefully it's good stuff. 2009 Camp Liberty, Baghdad, Iraq. I told him he would make another Evil Dead film. He denied it. So wait, you prognosticated to him? You were like, this will happen. I kept saying he would. This really annoyed him. I was right in 2003. He made Ash vs. Evil Dead. That's funny. Well, and here's the thing too. Like, since that happened, don't you wish that like a part of him remembers that interaction with you from back then when he finally was doing it? Like that happened and he was just like, I remember that guy telling me that this would happen. Did he have some sort of special ESP or something? That Sixth Sense. I heard the film will be closer to Frozen Hell, which was the first draft. Oh, okay, the first draft of the thing. I wonder what the difference was with that. I have a pic of me and Bruce together in the comment page of the YouTube channel. Okay, got it. Yeah, no, I know, John. I mean, Bruce Campbell meets so many people. He probably remembers no one that he meets pretty much, except for people who he interacts with repeatedly. Just because, I mean, I assume that's just how it is for people who are celebrities. When I was lucky enough to meet Bruce Campbell, when I met him, I had a weird, interesting conversation with him. Glad that I met him. He was a nice guy, but it was this it was this funny thing where like 2 weeks prior to me meeting Bruce Campbell, my mother was trying to talk to me about this book about that she was saying was so interesting about the settlement of the Midwest, specifically Ohio, and like this historical book about that and how interesting it is. And I was kind of like, I'm not really interested in this. So then I met Bruce Campbell, and he wanted to talk to me about that book, that same book. And I was like, what is it with this book? So I brought it up to him that my mom was reading it, and then he just went off about like how interesting it is and telling me details about it. He was pretty excited. Nice guy though. Remember the cabin keys were on top of the cabin door in the beginning of the film. Yeah, the cabin keys were on top of the well, and then the cabin keys were also on top when Cheryl went outside, which I didn't really understand. I'm just glad Carpenter is still alive. I know. We've lost so many genius horror directors in the past 20 years. Yeah, I know. I mean, he's the last of like his grouping. The main ones that people look to, you know, Craven, Hooper, Romero, Carpenter. I mean, you can put Raimi in there too, so he's still around. That's good. I want Raimi to just keep doing horror stuff. Like, I want another film kind of like a Drag Me to Hell type thing, which is very underrated. I need to rewatch that and do a review of it. I remember quite digging it. Like, no one talks about that film for the most part. And I remember when I finally watched it, I was like, why aren't people talking about this more? This is a good film. But that's been like 6 years, maybe more, since I watched that movie. Anyone got the Necronomicon Evil Dead DVD? Paul, I don't. I had a friend in college who had it, who ended up getting it, though. When the trees were chasing Cheryl back to the cabin, no one heard her banging on the door. Hearing problems? And why were the keys back on top of the door? I know, yeah. I was thinking the same thing about the keys. I was like, why were the keys on top of the door? Because the people were inside. And when she left, she didn't do anything with the keys. Yeah, that was a weird thing. Cheryl was a scared little mouse, so why did she even go out looking for voices to start with? Yeah, I agree, John. That didn't make sense to me either. But I guess thinking about it now, my only explanation for it might be that there was something with the evil that kind of grabbed a hold of her and compelled her to do that. Maybe very similar to like when the steering wheel gets grabbed in the car in the beginning of the film. So maybe it's kind of one of those things where, the evil doesn't have to actually physically possess the person first. It can kind of like draw them in and then possess them. Just a guess. It's a theory. I remember thinking that when I was watching it last night, why would they put the keys back on top, then close the door? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Continuity issue. Wish Drag Me to Hell. I watched Drag Me to Hell first day, loved it. Yeah, it's it's good. It's fun. Yeah, give your channel in the chat there, John. With all the craziness going on and the demon in the cellar, they told Shelly to go to bed by herself and get some rest. Really, by herself? Yeah, well, I guess they figured that things should be fine because it's like a small cabin, and they're also in the cabin. I don't know, like people when they're indoors just have this feeling that they're safer. I was thinking something similar. Why would they split up? I'd keep everyone together. Yeah, but this was back in the time period of most horror films. That's what happened in them. Like people did split up all the time to go do things. One of the reasons it gets made fun of in the movie The Cabin in the Woods. Yeah, Evil Dead Rise. Yep, Paul. For real. All right. So we're getting close to about the hour mark on the stream. So, final thoughts on the Evil Dead. Is there anything else that people want to jump into and discuss about the Evil Dead? We talked about a bunch of things, kind of like overall about it, but I don't know if there were any specifics. There is one thing that I do want to say: the scene where, crap, what's her name? Linda? Yes, Linda, I believe, is the deadite Linda is like falling towards Ash and he lops her head off with the shovel. I love the way they cut that, how it's just like head lopped off, the head lands on the ground, and the way they set that shot up was really cool because the head lands there and then further you see Ash laying down and then the body falls on him and then there's just all that blood coming out of the neck. It's just so good. I love that scene so much. It's like fun and funny. Raimi regrets the tree rape scene. Well, I'm sure a lot of people would regret putting something like that in a film. Not at the time, but many, many years later. It happens. Cabin in the Woods is great. I had to pause the scene when all the monsters were released to see what was what. Yeah, I agree. I've done that too, Paul. I did that where I was just like, pause, and I'm like, there's that, there's that, there's that, there's that. Definitely. I gave Evil Dead 4.5 pencils in the ankle out of 5. 4.5 pencils in the ankle would hurt more than one. One of the best horror movies to come out of the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on. Yeah, no, you're right. And extremely unique. That's another thing. I mean, there are so many movies that are kind of like the first of their kind. But when you go back and watch them, you're just kind of like, I see how they were good then, but they don't really hold up that well. But I feel like The Evil Dead's not one of those. I feel like The Evil Dead holds up. I'm sure there's still some people who will watch it and be like, it doesn't hold up. But I feel like it really does hold up. But like, maybe a little controversial to say, Night of the Living Dead doesn't hold up. It just doesn't. Like, it's boring now. But if you watch it thinking nothing like this existed at this time, then you understand why it was important. You understand why it's awesome. So, don't fuck with the merman. Yeah. Merman. Loved it. Love the Merman. There's a video on YouTube where a guy visits the cabin site. People are stealing parts of the chimney. Soon there will be nothing left. That sucks. But you know what? Everything's gone at some point too, so I guess there's that. Yeah, Uncle Pete. Totally. It holds up. Watched it at my usual time, 3 a.m. in the dark with headphones. There's no better way to view it. Blu-ray version. Yep. I need the Blu-ray version. I need to do that. But yeah, that is a good way. Yeah. So I watch movies in a bunch of different ways, and I always feel most connected with the movie when I'm laying in bed at night, my wife's asleep, and I've got the laptop with my headphones in, and it's totally dark around me. Because you're just hyper focused. You feel like you're in your own personal theater, because like everything oratorily is closed off, and all you're hearing, you're just like sucked into that film. Yeah, I love that. And that's why theaters are so great and can really change your experience with a movie, because you can't be distracted, really. You're not hearing people, revving their car engines outside, or your neighbors banging around, or, you're not distracted by the fact that, oh man, do I need to do some dishes right now? What do I have to do tomorrow for work? Stuff like that. You're just focused. And that's why prior to this whole COVID thing, loved going to the movies, because I always felt, for me personally, it was a break from reality. I wasn't able to take care of things in my life. That was time I 100% could devote to just experiencing the film. Netflix has a Blu-ray version. Yeah. That's where I watched it. Is the Blu-ray version a proper remaster? 4K Dolby? If at home you have to be alone when watching it, then no one will be able to help you when the Deadites come to get you. Don't think they can do much with it. Yeah. Yeah, on the whole thing about watching alone, actually a lot of the times when I watch a movie that I really want to like super pay attention to, a lot of times I like to do that alone. I do kind of prefer to watch films on my own a lot, especially if it's for the first time. So especially for like when I'm watching them to do my reviews, I really want to watch it alone. But, if I'm watching with my wife, she doesn't interrupt, especially if it's, a horror film, because she knows I'm focusing. Unless it's something like The Suckling. And then every now and then she's like, what is this? And on that note, let's move on to talking about John's film, The Suckling. Alternate title, Sewage Baby. I personally think they should have stuck with Sewage Baby. It's funnier. Benefits of watching in a theater is that combined feeling of the crowd that can amplify the mood. It's weird that you say that, John, because when I'm in a theater, even if it's like crowded, it's like I don't even notice the people there. Unless it's the movie A Quiet Place, which I did see in the theater, and you definitely notice the people during that, because if anyone makes any little bit of noise, like munching on popcorn or just moving in their seat, you're hearing it. Never seen The Suckling. Paul, it is to be experienced. It's terrible, but it's fun because it's terrible. Oh man, that movie. John's gonna be in his glory. I almost tapped out with the abortion scene. Okay, yeah, I could see that. It's especially when she's like holding the baby, and then it's just like, yeah, it's a little much. Description: after a woman goes to a back alley abortion clinic, her aborted fetus attacks her boyfriend, and everyone else at the place. Okay, I will watch this. That sold you on it, Paul, as it should have. Yeah, it's absurd. And the fact that the location is a brothel and back alley abortion clinic all in one is just like that. that like next levelness of someone trying to make a point in the film. It's very much like an anti-abortion film, obviously, especially because anyone involved with or for the abortion in the film is killed, and the only person who's not was the one person who didn't want any abortion to happen. Yeah, it's very, beat you over the top of the head, but that's not what the movie's really for nowadays. What the movie's for nowadays is just watching it and being like, someone made this. And, yeah, that's something. The acting was so bad. Uncle Pete, I'm not kidding when I say that that is probably the worst acting I've ever seen in a film, in any film that I've ever seen. Like low budget and otherwise. It's bad. But that's why it's so funny. That's why it's so great. Oh, Christina, what's up? Oh, you haven't seen... Okay, hold on. So, Christina, I won't hold it against you for not having seen The Suckling. That's fine. Because it's not for everyone. But The Evil Dead, it's a classic. You should definitely see The Evil Dead. Definitely. It's on Netflix right now if you have Netflix. Worth it, for sure. Location was in Brooklyn, but the mama, Big Mama, had a southern accent. I guess she was a transplant from the South, is my guess. Which, on the topic of Big Mama, did she not look like Beetlejuice? She had the black and white striped outfit, the crazy, like, blown up blonde hair. Are you feeling me? She looked like Beetlejuice. She totally did. That whole scene with Candy talking to Bertha, they were never in the same room. I know, right, Uncle Pete? Ooh, and the dialogue, too. Like, the dialogue is so disconnected from what's going on. And a lot of the times what the characters are doing and how they're acting and what they're saying just don't connect to the actual situation. One of the big examples being, if you remember when they start coming up with a plan to deal with the creature, and they're like, let's plug all the drains so the creature can't get to us. But then at the same time, they have this plan to bust through the wall so that they can get to the creature. So I'm like, what are they trying to do? Like, it's so confused. I'm like, are you looking for the creature or are you not looking for the creature? Asia Argento bad? Ooh, worse than Asia Argento, man. Yeah, Uncle Pete's got it. Asia Argento is 1,000 times better than this attempt at acting. Yeah, agreed. Who was the best actor in it? I would say probably the woman who played Candy. So that really was tough for me when she got shot in the head by Axel, because I was like, she was the best actor there. Come on now. Yes, I do remember Paula Deen, John, and yes, that's a good point. I can see the similarities between Big Mom and Paula Deen, especially with the accent. So one of the biggest things that you obviously have to talk about when you talk about The Suckling is the creature design, and I'd be interested to know what everyone thinks. Obviously, the overwhelming majority of the budget went to that, which, I think was a smart choice, just because they obviously knew they didn't have a good script or a good concept, really. So they're like, if we just put so much into the creature, then people will, be super happy with it. Or it'll be passable, or it'll just make just enough money. I don't know. But I like the way the creature looked. But I like the way the creature looked more when it was smaller. And I think that once it got to the stage of being like human-sized, that it just... It looked more like one of those old Rubber Monster movies. And you could tell it's a person moving in there. And it's awkward. And it's not as good. And it just looks wonky. When it was little, I think it just looked way cooler and way more menacing. I think they should have just kept it small. Yeah, John, outstanding creature design. I do agree. They really put a lot into that. Or the dude who did, let me shout him out. His name, not like, we'll see this or anything, but the guy who did its name was Dean Merzel. And he actually went on to work on the films Critters 3, Critters 4, and Face Off. So that dude went places after The Suckling. Good for him. He put a lot of work into that. Hold on here. Okay, first of all, okay, I'll get to that. Just a crack baby exposed to toxic waste. I mean, that's Uncle Pete. That's, maybe. Although I do have to say about that um, one of the interesting things of dialogue in there was that when the abortion happened, Big Mama made a comment about the baby being larger than a normal baby at that stage of pregnancy. So I took it as like a hint that that was like a demonic or whatever it is baby in the first place. Like it was already going to become that no matter what. The Suckling versus Leprechaun. Paul, are you proposing that as a movie? Because if so, yes. Let's do this. Budget $50,000. I've seen good, like really good films made for $50,000 though. That's the thing, and more recently than when The Suckling was done. So the $50,000 isn't an excuse, really. Shove the baby down the toilet. Things easily go down toilets in this film, come out of them or go down them like an entire severed head, which makes absolutely no sense. But, that's the movie. Leprechaun's brilliant if you're comparing the two. Yeah, no, that's true. Very true, Uncle Pete. I can make a masterpiece with my phone for $50K. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, no, you can. I mean, you definitely can. I know someone who made, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie The Fear Footage. I know a family member of the person who made the Fear Footage. And they did that whole thing on their phone, that dude. And he did it for cheap. And made enough money that he did a second one, which I've not seen, but I should. The scene where the creating became small, where the creature became small and ran back into the woman's womb, was so heartwarming. Well, here's the thing, John. When that happened, I thought that what they were going to do is that she was fearing that it was going to kill her, and then was going to get to her and like hug her and embrace her and be like, "Mommy." But I didn't see the whole going back inside thing, which obviously I liked better. I think that's a much better twist than what I was thinking was going to happen. Anyone seen Unsane? Great film. I've not seen it. I have heard good things about it. I will see it at some point, Paul. Uncle Pete, you loved Unsane or you loved The Suckling? Or both. Go ahead. Either way. So, it's funny because I had a friend over. When was it? Some point at the end of last year, I believe it was. And I showed him some movies that I was going to be watching, and one of them I showed him was my Blu-ray for The Suckling, and he was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you just pulled that out." I did work on a trailer for that because he does like film stuff and editing. So apparently he worked on putting trailers, or at least one trailer together for The Suckling. So I thought that was kind of funny. And he's like, "That movie is trash." He's like, "Why are you watching it? Why are you going to watch it? It's terrible. They put all the money into the creature. It's garbage." And I was just like, I know, that's why I'm going to watch it. Because it's garbage. Because I like that. The Squeal was good, but the first one was better. You still need to watch it. Unsane was great. Fear Footage. Unsane. Oh, so Christina, you've seen Unsane. And you say it's great too. Okay. I've heard enough people say Unsane's great now. Uncle Pete, Christina, Paul. Alright. I gotta watch it. Ralph Cordero, who did the creature effect, also worked on George of the Jungle and The Toxic Avenger. Huh. Colin kind of looks like Stalker and Unsane. No offense. I've not seen Unsane. Well, now I kind of have to look that up. And then that will inform me if it is for me to take offense to or not. I'm looking it up. Google Images. Yeah, I could see that a bit. A little bit. Yeah, I could see that a little bit. Uh, Gotta run, but the suckling concept is awesome. I love that there is an abortion clinic at the brothel. Also, I love the creature and I love the end. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. Tightwhite. And yeah, good points. But I've never seen so much wasted, useless, pathetic dialogue in the middle of this movie ever. Yes, the dialogue is horrible. The script is garbage. It good concept, good creature. That's it. In any other film, yeah. I was thinking about putting up wood paneling all around my house. John, do you like the Suckling that much that you want your house to look like the house from the Suckling? I mean, I guess I couldn't really blame you on that. If you want to feel like you're in it, you should check out Fear footage too. Yeah, I've been meaning to, Pete. I need to get around to that. It was not as good as the first, but still worthy of a watch. Cool. Good, good, good. Fear footage, a found footage movie? Yes. Yeah, Paul, it's a found footage. I don't like a whole lot of found footage, but I actually thought it was good. It shouldn't be a pro-life movie, but pro-choice by saying this is what happens when you do illegal abortions. Yeah, that's a point there, Heather. I mean, it's just insane and over the top. You know, and here's the thing. I don't even know that it was meant to be like any sort of statement. You know, there are times when people make movies, just they have an idea of a concept and it's so over the top and it doesn't align with their, you know, political or moral or ethical or whatever views. So you never really know. My favorite found footage movie is the Poughkeepsie tapes. That's on my list to watch, Paul. Noroi the Curse is pretty good too. Poughkeepsie tapes is incredible. Okay, now it's two people saying it. At the end of the movie, at least the baby was able to defend his mother. Yes. And that set it up for a Suckling 2, John, which it's not too late. If someone can get some money together, the Suckling 2 could happen. I'm sure. Someone may have the creature stuff around still, too, so it could happen. It could definitely happen. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I really wanted to say about the Suckling. I mean, it's just, it is one of those films where you laugh at it for many reasons, and then when you're done, you're like, man, I have to show this to someone. And so I would encourage people to go out and show it to other people. I plan to do it at some point. My wife just happened to be in the room when the movie was on, and there were numerous times when she looked up and she was just like, what? This is terrible. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm watching it. That's just what I do. Which, by the way, I watched another movie. I'm going to have a review coming out on it at some point. I don't know when, but I'm actually working pretty far ahead on my movie reviews at the moment because I want to release more in October since it's October. So I'm kind of trying to bank a bunch so I can put out more then. So I'm getting ahead right now. But anyway, I watched the movie Spookies today. Talk about a movie that actually had some potential, and there was a good film there, but it just got screwed up by the financier. There's a insane backstory on, well, not insane, but there's a crazy backstory on what happened to that movie, Spookies. It could have been so much better, but because the financier was the person he is, I assume he's still alive, it turned out to be garbage. Pretty much. But it's worth seeing for sure. It's a Vinegar Syndrome release. My favorite part was after the customer gets shot. I told you not to argue with the customers. That is what I'm here for. I think we are way past the argument stage. I know, right, Heather? I remember when that bit of dialogue happened too. I was just like, and I think that's when I put my note down of the dialogue, the way people act, and the things people do, and how they react to things are very disconnected from what's actually going on in the film. That it was that moment for sure that I was just like, okay. I give the film 2 headless bodies being sucked down the toilet out of 5. But how did the severed head get down the toilet? The only thing I can figure is that like the umbilical cord, I assume that's what was being used, from the creature was strong enough to like crush all the bones in the skull, or to just crush the skull down and pull it through. Not that we need to explain this, but I'm just theorizing on this one. Anything else on the Suckling? I know that there's not really like a whole lot to say about the Suckling. It's mainly just the experience of seeing a movie like that and then saying to people, "Oh my gosh, wasn't that so terrible? How terrible? The most terrible." But it's fun for that reason. Apparently, the creature's belly button was an outie. Well, I thought that was I thought it was an umbilical cord, just like left there. Although I don't think that was there when it grew up. It didn't seem to be, at least. So I can tell you guys real quick some reviews that will come out within the next 2 months, I guess. The Spookies one I was telling you about. Rawhead Rex, which I watched recently. Dogtooth, which is on Shudder and is another Yorgos Lanthimos film, the guy who did Killing of a Sacred Deer. That movie's messed up. It's good, though. Beyond the Door, that's another, like, so bad it's good film. Hellmaster, another so bad it's good film. Jurassic Park. Absentia, which was the first film that Mike Flanagan did, the guy who did Dr. Sleep and The Haunting of Hill House. And It Comes at Night and A Ghost Story, which are A24 films. I think that's it for what's coming up. And I'll be doing more, obviously. Trying to get ahead. Do the Poughkeepsie tapes. I'm putting in my Netflix DVD queue. Although my next Netflix movie I'm watching is Ex Machina, because you guys talked about it so much. So I'm going to watch that next. I assume that's not horror, though, so I'm not going to review it. But I'll put my thoughts about it on Letterboxd, so. Poughkeepsie tapes. Adding it to queue. Moving it to the top. Okay, I will end up doing it. No guarantee on when it's going to happen, but working on it. Hey, Chloe. My cat's coming over. Dogtooth is good. Yes, Dogtooth is good. I love Rawhead Rex. He's my buddy. John, how am I not surprised that you love Rawhead Rex? I liked it too. It isn't truly another one of those like so bad it's good films. Not, it's not the level of The Suckling. It is a bad film, but I could watch it every now and then. I probably want to watch The Suckling more. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, sci-fi. I haven't seen Eyes Without a Face, Paul. So I'll have to see that as well. That's one that's been on my list to see for quite some time. I'll get to it. If people can bear subtitles, Tetsuo the Iron Man is on Shudder. I will be watching that at some point. Yo, Chloe, what are you doing, dude? One thing moves in this room, and my cat, has to re-explore everything. She's weird. Also, check out The Innocents, 1961. I think that one is also in my queue. I'll look, though. I'll look right now. The Innocents. No, not the 2018. Come on now. Chloe. Nah. No yelling. You're fine. There we go, 61. It's in my queue already, yeah. I'll just have to find it at some point and move it up. But yeah, thanks. Another good old movie, black and white. If I remember correctly, The Innocents was a slow but great film. Cool. Bunch of people liking it. British movie. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that was one I had gotten. I read Rue Morgue magazine, and they'll have like special edition like books, like light books that come out. That's kind of like the top 100 of this and top 50 of this. And they had one that came out that was like the top 100 kind of like hidden gem horror films that you need to see. And I'm pretty sure that The Innocents was in there. So that's why it's in my queue, because I have that somewhere. And I kind of like went through and was just looking at each one and trying to put it in my Netflix DVD queue. So, okay. Anything else on the Suckling, people? Because if not, I'm going to talk about what's coming up with the live streams. I already have movies picked for the next live stream because I came up with what I think is a pretty good idea for that. And then I am going to do something different in October for one live stream. I'm gonna do something different for one of the live streams in October. Probably whatever live stream whatever Saturday ends up being the first live stream in October. We might still do a movie for that, but not two movies, because there's something else I want to do that's something different and should be a lot of fun. So I'm out of work. I wanted to put a pencil in my manager's ankle. I appreciate that reference, Marshall. Bad day at work or bad night at work, Marshall? I hope it wasn't too bad. I don't want to talk about the idea for October yet. I still want to figure out how I want to do it. It's not anything like crazy, but it will be fun. It should be fun. But okay, I can tell you guys what movies I want to do next. So they're both movies that are coming to Shudder this coming week. They'll be on Shudder this coming week. And obviously there's a connection here. One of them I have to read the title because it's long. Okay, so we're going to talk about them in this order for the live stream. The first one is a documentary. It is Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. I've seen this documentary before. It's very good. It's crazy, and I'd like to talk about it on live stream. And then for our second film, I want to do Richard Stanley's return to filmmaking, Color Out of Space, starring Nicolas Cage. And I think that doing those two together would be really cool, because we'd get the backstory on the struggles that Richard Stanley went through to lose his love of filmmaking and swear it off, and then after that talk about the movie that he made to return to filmmaking after like 20 some years. I just think it'd be cool to be able to talk that out. Huh. Why aren't you seeing Marshall's chats? I see him. It was a good day at work. I just usually don't work Saturdays. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Uncle Pete, I knew you'd be happy with it. Oh, John, the names again? Yeah, the one is just so freaking long. Okay, the documentary is called this, and they should have chopped this title down. Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. And then the second one is Color Out of Space. Lovecraft. It's very Lovecraft. It's good. I've seen it before. I have a review for it on my channel already. I watched it some time back. Okay, things are fixed. Uncle Pete can see you, Marshall. Cool. I don't think I can make it for the next one, September 12th. Yeah, September 12th. Yeah. Sorry, Heather. Sorry. I wish you would be able to make it for the next one, but yeah. That said, since you can't make it for the next one, Heather, are there any movies that you would have a very high interest in covering for the stream after that one. I'll be on vacation. No, Marshall. Oh, you're going to North Carolina to visit your sister? North Carolina's nice. That's all right. I mean, I know you can't interact with me with it, but the live streams go up on my channel after they're done. So if you want to hear the discussion from it, it's there. Lost Island had that karate guy that was drunk all the time. What? Yeah. Or Island of Dr. Moreau, you mean, John? Yeah, so the documentary is just basically about the making of that terrible Island of Dr. Moreau film. I watched that film some time ago, and I know that, like, one of the things about the documentary, this isn't spoiling anything, the amount of, like, seething from Fairuza Balk when she's being interviewed is so palpable. You can tell that she blames that movie for the downfall of her career. Like, her anger is just like, it's there. Going to a screening with some of the cast and crew? Of what, Heather? Color Out of Space? Oh, peace out, Paul. Thanks for coming. Yeah. I remember seeing the movie The Island of Dr. Moreau in the theater. Oh my gosh. Uncle Pete, I'm sorry. Seeing that in the theater, I think it was a steaming pile. Texas Chainsaw Massacre fired the directors and are rebooting the movie. Not looking good. Oh my god. Well, here's the thing, Marshall. I was talking about this earlier. I don't get my hopes up for movies anymore. There was a time when I did that. That was back when I used to watch a lot of trailers. Now I really don't watch trailers and don't get my hopes up for stuff for the most part. Yeah, Val Kilmer, yeah. You'll see in the documentary, John, but Val Kilmer was one of the reasons that The Island of Dr. Moreau went the way it did. Why can't we get a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre? You did the first one. I haven't seen anything past that, to be honest. Just because it doesn't seem like it's worth it. No, you might... John, you might be right. It's just my recollection of that film. It's been a long time since I've watched that film, Island of Dr. Moreau, so I don't remember. I vaguely remember something kind of like what you're saying, but I can't say for sure. But yeah, there's just like wacky stuff. Just really, it went off the rails, and I think that documentary does a very good job of capturing all of what happened and blowing your mind as an audience member. I remember the first time I saw that documentary, and I was just like, "What? This is insane!" It's a great documentary. Do you see the Batman trailer? Looked like Fincher's 7 with Batman. Marshall, yes, I actually did watch that trailer. And it did look good. It reminded me of kind of like going back to the Dark Knight type of film. So if it's like the trailer, it should be good. But then again, don't get your hopes up. He was in conflict with Marlon Brando. That's putting it lightly, John. It seemed, just, yep. They talk about it in the documentary. You'll understand the breadth of that. I'm vengeance. Let's go, Pattinson. Yeah, and Marshall, I don't understand all the people who are all anti-Pattinson. It's like, oh, he's not going to be good. I would point people to the film The Lighthouse. Pattinson did a very good job in The Lighthouse. I've seen the doc somewhere. It will be up on Shudder this coming week. I think Thursday. Color Out of Space and that documentary, the Lost Soul one, both hit Shudder this week. I don't have a suggestion for the next live stream, but have a movie suggestion for whenever. Okay. Yeah, let's hear it, Heather. Movie suggestion. Pattinson has the film hanging around his neck, but he is a better actor than people know. Agreed, John. Totally. Well, and think back to when they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker for The Dark Knight. People were all like, "Oh, Heath Ledger, how could you do that?" And then people did nothing but rave after the movie came out, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's a revelation. It's amazing." Which leads me back to one of my biggest problems with people nowadays, which is complaining about a movie they haven't watched, and especially basing it off a trailer. Watch the movie, then you can complain if you didn't like it. Don't see a trailer or hear about someone who's cast for a movie and start complaining. That's dumb. You don't know how it's going to turn out. Yeah, I never doubted Robert. The trailer just confirmed he's going to do good. I hope so, Marshall. That would be nice. Movie Twilight. Yeah, I saw the first Twilight. I watched it with my wife at one point, and then she wanted to watch it again at one point, and I said only if we can watch it with riff tracks. And it's awesome with riff tracks. I See You from 2019. Okay, Heather. Got it. I watched... Okay, I'm going to put down I See... I'm going to put it on my list. And then I'm also going to put it in my queue. Okay. I've heard about I See You. I don't remember what I've heard about it, but I remember it. I really enjoyed 30 Miles from Nowhere. They just added it to Shudder. Yeah, I know, Uncle Pete. You told me about that. I need to watch it. The Exorcist is getting rebooted. Hollywood is running out of ideas. I mean, they've been running out of ideas for a long time. Part of the problem with that is Hollywood's very incestuous. They only like to work with like the same writers, so it's really hard for new writers to get in. So, if they just keep trying to work with the same people over and over again, those people aren't going to always have ideas. In order to get new content and new ideas, you have to be willing to read new scripts from new people, and they're not so much into that. It's dumb. Nope. I See You is already in my queue. Oh no, though. That makes me wonder, is this one of those ones that I can't get it yet through Netflix DVD? I have a feeling that it's towards the bottom of my list. I'm going to have to look. Yeah, I don't... Oh, there it is. Oh, cool. Yeah, I can get it. I'm going to put it towards the top. Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah. Alright, I got it. Watched 30 Miles on Amazon Prime. It was a pretty good movie. Cool. So Heather's saying it's good too. Never mind. Forgot that movie in my watch list. Really enjoyed that movie. At some point we should discuss Eraserhead. Yeah, we could do that at some point. Although, I think before Eraserhead I might be more interested in something like Blue Velvet. What do you say about Blue Velvet? I see two I See You movies. Is it the one with Helen Hunt? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the one. Yeah. I have the right one on my watch list. Yo. Richard Smith. Richard B. Smith. Who is this Richard B. Smith? Richard B. Smith. That's probably a troll. No. That's my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing, man? Are you still tired? Yeah, Racerhead, David Lynch. Yep, Lynch makes some crazy stuff. I don't think I've actually ever watched Eraserhead in its entirety. I've seen portions of it. Yeah, Blue Velvet. I also really like Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway, but Blue Velvet, I think, would be a good one for discussion. And also it's more of like an actual kind of horror type thing to it. Although Lost Highway, I think you could put in the horror genre a little bit. Someone that is going to kick your butt in Mario Kart. Yeah, we'll see about that. Although, I mean, you usually do beat me in Mario Kart, so. Uncle Pete, you haven't seen Blue Velvet? Oh, it's good, man. Kyle Lachlan, Dennis Hopper. It's a David Lynch film. Great setup with that film of a dude just randomly finding an ear in the grass. Yeah, it's a good flick. I own it on DVD. It's been a while since I watched it, though. Mario Kart's so dope. Rich. Okay, next week's not next week's movies, Rich. Next 2 weeks, September 12th. We're doing, I gotta read it. Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, which is a documentary about the terribleness involved with the Island of Dr. Moreau movie being made. And then Color Out of Space, which is the movie that Richard Stanley directed to come back from never making movies again for 20-some years. Robert Blake was creepy in Lost Highway, John, and he also is a real-life criminal. Murderer. Which is, it's crazy to know that and watch that movie now. Marshall, I wouldn't say it's embarrassing that you haven't seen any David Lynch films. You should check it out. It's not for everyone. It's really weird stuff. Like, Lynch is out there, but if you like one of his films, you'll probably like all of his stuff pretty much. One of the things I would say is, if you have not seen the show Twin Peaks, the original Twin Peaks, I'm like unbelievably in love with that show. I love that show. When I got this shirt from Fright Rags, I also got a Twin Peaks shirt because that's how much I love Twin Peaks. And this is how much I love Phantasm. All the Phantasm. Yes, I even like Phantasm Ravager. Yes, I said that. No, Rich, both of those movies are going to be on Shudder this week. They're coming to Shudder this week, Rich. I think he was convicted. I think he was, John. You'll still watch the movie and put a review on Letterboxd. Cool, Heather. That's awesome. Likely watch the stream video after and add a comment. Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be great. Yeah, and I'll check in and see what you thought of the movies through Letterboxd. And thank you, you guys, all of you, for talking me into doing Letterboxd, because it is a good way for me to kind of keep track of what I've been watching. Because prior to that, I was doing it through the Netflix DVD service, so I was able to go back and like see the history of all the movies I rated. But they don't have everything. They have a lot, but they don't have everything, and Letterboxd has like everything, so this is better. So thank you. Robert Blake was 5'4". Yeah, he seems small. He was acquitted? It's been some years. It's been like over 10 years, I think, since that happened. Man. I wonder what he's doing now. Yes, Marshall. Yeah, I said it at the beginning of the stream. You weren't on at the time. Yes, I'm doing Letterboxd now. So if you just search my name, all one word, Carlin Cook, all smashed together, I'm there. I'm the guy who just watched Spookies today. I can't wait till that review comes out. That movie, Spookies, would be great for Joe Bob to do for a Last Drive-In. Like, all the background information he could give about that. Oh, juicy, juicy stuff. Oh, he lost his civil case. Okay, that's probably what was in my mind then, John. He can't be doing much. He's in his mid-80s. Yeah. Yep. Who is doing much in their mid-80s, really? Roger Corman is in his 90s, and he's still actually doing a lot. So there you go. God, I love Corman. Like, the impression that Corman has made on film in general is so great, and it's going to be sad as hell when he goes. Cool, I'll follow you. Look out for a yellow Ice Cube profile picture. Okay, yeah, sounds good. I will look out for that, Marshall. I loved him in the TV series Beretta. I never saw Beretta. Never saw it. Alright, I'm trying to think. I feel like there was like one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I can't remember what it was. I guess it wasn't that important. But anyway, hopefully everyone's super excited. Oh, I do have a question for everyone right now. Do you guys do 31 days of horror, or 31 movies, horror movies in October? Because that's something I've continually done for like the past 6 years at least, I think. And I like keep a record of what I was watching for that month. But I've usually been doing more than 31. I've been doing more like around like 35-ish or so. Do I have you on there, Marshall? Yeah. Are you? Yeah. Are you and Heather friends on there, Marshall? Because you guys should be. Oh, so Heather, you did it last year. Okay. Did you do just 31 or did you do more? I'm just curious how many people actually do this, because I feel like I don't hear people talk about it, but I feel like it's more popular of a thing than you hear about. Okay, John did last year. You did it in August, and they were disturbing. Okay. Yeah, no, that counts. Sure. A Serbian film, I assume. When you told me you're at, I didn't have Letterboxd. I'll follow you. Okay, got it. Yeah. My cat's staring at me from across the room. Chloe. You okay? You're out of sorts? You don't know what I'm doing? Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but when cats do like the slow blinking thing, it's like an I love you. My cat's doing it. So I do it back. Show her I love her too. I was totally numb by the third week. I thought you were going to say the third film, John. Because that might be me. It'd be like, third film, done. I can't feel anymore. I did more one a day, but on the weekends I would get a couple or more, and usually. Yeah. So I actually have some leave that I'm going to need to take coming up from work, so I'm actually thinking about doing some of those days in October so that I can just do more horror films. Last October, I was doing my 31, and I was actually trying to do as many reviews, put up as many reviews or other videos as I could throughout October. So I tried to put on my YouTube channel like one video per day in October. I didn't hit one per day, but I think I did 27 videos in October, which by the time I was done with that, I was pretty exhausted. So I don't think I'm going to try and do that in October, but I do think I might try to do 4 movie reviews a week instead of 2 for October. Oh, August Underground. Okay, got it. I've never watched any August Underground, but I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with what it is. Serbian film was part of it, and that was a good film. I've not seen a Serbian film, but I don't know if I have interest or not. I don't know. Man, I wouldn't count it out at some point, maybe. What up, Need Gore? How you doing? Unfortunately, Need Gore, we're coming to the end of the stream. I just want to see, does anyone have any last minute thing that you had to throw out there that you needed to talk about, want to talk about real quick before we call it quits for the stream? Because I got a Mario Kart date with Rich and my wife and his wife. That's what we do. We put the speakerphone on, talk a lot of trash, and play Mario Kart together. Serbian film is a bit disturbing for most. Yeah, that's what I've heard, John. My cat only likes me when it's dinner time. John, that is very common for cats. That's the typical cat, but it's weird because my cat is actually more like a dog. She follows me a lot. She is always near me. She's very glued to me. My wife says all the time, she's like, why is she so obsessed with you? I'm like, we're best friends. That's what it is. All right. If nothing else, then I will have to say a good night to everyone. This has been a good stream. I'm really glad that we chose these movies, especially because it had been so long since I saw The Evil Dead, and like I said, I feel like I fell in love with that film all over again watching it, and I'd never seen The Suckling and had been meaning to, and that's an experience everyone should have. So yeah, good times, real fun. A cat I had come running when I whistled, kind of weird. Oh no, that's not weird, Heather. My cat, I just yell her name and she shows up. She she knows her name, and anytime I yell for her, she comes. Yeah, it's crazy. Be careful. In cat standards, you are easily replaced. I don't. That's not the way it is with my cat. She's very attached to me, and she's also very attached to my wife, but she's even more attached to me. She also demands a lot from me. Yep. Yeah, have a good night, everyone. Yeah, and thanks everyone for showing up. Really do appreciate it. These things are fun. I was really looking forward to this one. It's always a good time, and I'm very excited for the movies for the September 12th. Sorry, Marshall and Heather, that you guys cannot make it, but feel free to post some comments on my announcement video for what the live stream will be. Just go back and post comments on that. If there's anything that you want to make sure you get in for discussion for that live stream, and then I can remember to check that and then bring it to the chat to kind of address that, so we can do it that way. So you guys will kind of be there in a way. Yeah, so we can do it that way. But excited. It's going to be fun. Good night, all. Make sure you check the toilet before you sit down, because you never know what lurks down there, just saying. And a lot of people felt like that after Jaws came out, too. Kevin Smith, I think, had famously said that. But yeah, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And also don't forget to keep it brutal.